Hello everyone, hi and welcome to the channel of Wall Street Mojo. Friends, today we are going to learn a tutorial on corporate finance versus investment banking. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of the same. See, the corporate finance and investment banking are among the most promising career choices for finance students. Both of this area offer highly competitive job roles and excellent prospects to grow as a professional. Here we would try to attempt to study the nature of the work, the compensation, the work-life balance and other aspects and to draw a comparison between these two careers. So for the sake of clarity, we would first need to broadly define corporate finance and investment banking. First, we'll see some conceptual differences. So the first thing that we are going to start with the conceptual differences. Now, let's get into it. Corporate finance is basically concerned with the finance activities of a company. Any decision for the investments or for raising capital falls within its domain. So the fundamental objective is to maximize the value of the business by making strategic financial decisions, which might include allocations of resources, identifying avenues for reinvesting profits or raising capital by issuing equity or debt securities. So it must be understood that corporate finance is much more broader uh, scope, and investment banking can be defined as more of a sub area of corporate finance. Now, let's get into investment banking. See, it deals with major financing activities that includes issue of securities, acquiring of the business like M&A activity, and similar functionalities aimed at raising capital for a business. Investment bankers are typically hired by the big corporations to facilitate the significant fundraising activities, which demand specialized approach and experts knowledge on the part of the professional. This is why, despite of having technically being a subdomain of corporate finance, investment banking qualifies as a distinct field in its own right, and recognized as investment bankers are recognized as heavyweights for the kind of roles they carry out. Second, that we are going to study is the corporate finance and investment banking. What are going to be the prerequisites, which is very important. Now, the first and foremost thing, if we talk about corporate finance, then in that case, undergraduates in economics, business, and finance could plan for a career in corporate finance. Since most corporate finance job roles require an expert knowledge of accounting, those who have completed in accounting courses could be a distinct advantage. However, corporate finance is broader in scope than most of the other work in areas in finance because it follows logically that depending on the nature of the work for a specific position, candidate might need to possess varying skills set. For instance, earning chartered public accounting, that is CPA designation, could work best for accounting oriented roles, and those aiming for financial analyst role could be benefit for more of CFA, that is chartered financial analyst designation. So it must be remembered that corporate finance is all about making critical financial decisions with a direct role in building value for a business. Apart from accounting, candidates should also possess an excellent knowledge of finance, investments, and corporate theory, among other things, to succeed as a professional. Now, let's get into both the things. What are the skills needed? So, in case of corporate finance, you need good accounting skills, excellent and analytical abilities, broad-based of knowledge of corporate finance, and excellent communication abilities. Experts' knowledge of financial analysis or any other concepts depending on the relevant job roles. Now let's talk about investment banking. Undergraduates in finance, investments, and related areas can prepare for investment banking career. So by developing necessary skills, usually firms prefer to hire, if you want to go in investment banking, they usually hire the MBAs from the top institute as business oriented courses, and certification would help prepare better for investment banking roles. Although one would need expert knowledge of finance as well, MBA is one of the few courses in finance with excellent networking opportunities, which can be a big advantage for the professionals in this field. As a matter of fact, banking internships are more competitive than some entry level positions in other areas of finance. So, most of the business banking, investment banking professionals start their career as an analyst or associate, and after a few years of professional experience under their belt, they can begin an arduous climb up in the career ladder to acquire the positions like VP, Director, Managing Director. So, what are the skills required for investment banking? So, the first one, you need an advanced knowledge of financial concepts and excellent analytical abilities. You should possess excellent networking abilities and be an expert at client negotiation. Third, an ability to perform well under pressure. And fourth, you need hard skills like financial modeling, valuations, Excel, PPT, etc. is must. Now, let's get into the third point, that is the employment outlook. Let's look at this angle and see what goes in for different options that we have, that is corporate finance and investment banking. Corporate finance is only broader in its scope but also offers a great variety of job roles when compared to investment banking. It must also be made clear that investment banking roles are typically far more competitive than most of the corporate finance roles and are comparatively hard to find as well. So in corporate finance, individuals can carve out a career path as an accountant, financial analyst, advisor, accountant manager, or treasury among the other professional roles. Investment banking is not only a specialized branch of corporate finance. With fewer career opportunities, investment banking helps their clients issue equity, debt securities to raise major capital and facilitates M&A, that is mergers and acquisition, along with the other major finance activities. So this kind of roles requires a people on the higher end of the spectrum in terms of communication skills and negotiation abilities, authorities, knowledge of finance, and flair for mathematics qualities, which can be little difficult to find in a single individual. So till about a decade ago, investment banking was a preferred choice of a career in finance. However, the playing field has been leveled up to the extent in the past few years as investment banking took a hit, especially in the post-credit crunch era as the economy continues to recover and the financial industry is witnessing a large-scale restructuring even today. Investment banking is prized choice, but it becomes increasingly difficult to get in. In New York and London, two of the global investment banking hubs, they prefer to hire from the best of the Ivy League schools, which may not be everyone's cup of tea. On the whole, as per the estimate by the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, financial industry is set to witness nearly about 11%, I'm not kidding, it's 11% job growth between 2012 to 2022. So this can be considered a healthy figure. As far as the long-term average go, it bodes well for anyone planning to take up finance as a career. Now, the fourth point of comparison, it's going to be the salary. Everyone is always concerned about money. So let's see what goes in for corporate finance. It would be quite difficult to identify the average earning of a corporate finance professional as the nature of the work varies a great deal from one job role to another. However, as per the research by the Robert Half International in 2009, an entry-level financial analyst earns somewhere between, I'll just form over here, corporate finance and investment banking. So they earn comparatively around between 35,000 to 50,000. This is at the initial stage. Now, annually, in larger firms, they could earn between 40,000 to, let's say, $50,000. Now, to put things, this one is 50,000. To put things in a perspective, perks have gone up since, taking up the median salary for the financial analyst around close enough to, it was $79,000 in the year close enough to May 2014, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. And an experienced analyst can earn close enough to 55,000 to 88,000, close enough to that, in the neighborhood of that. So whereas the tax manager might earn between close enough to 90,000 to 1,30,000 per year. So assistant treasurer earns close enough to 85,000 to 115,000. So on the higher end, a chief financial officer can have a pay package in excess. So you can say in excess of 2,50,000 on an average. Now let's look some of the numbers in terms of investment banking. Despite of the slight downturn in the investment banking sector, it continues to offer much higher remuneration as compared to any jobs in the corporate finance. Even investment banking interns might earn close enough to, just interns, they're earning close enough to 70,000 to $80,000 on an average. This is just the average number. And after joining as an analyst, they could earn close enough to in between $115,000 to $130,000 with bonuses which may range close enough to in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $30,000. So one of the most significant factors in respect of the size of the firm, which largely determines the kind of the remuneration what might be offered. For instance, the large firms in New York could pay between $1,20,000 to, you can say, $2,00,000. So this is the number. You can say for top MBA graduates, which is way above the average package. However, in similar firms, it could be comparatively much lower. So after accumulating experience of more than 3 years, an associate could earn anywhere in excess of $2 lakh per year on an average. So there has also been a rising trend of equity-based incentive being awarded to investment banking associate. Both in corporate finance and investment banking, the size of the firm hiring an individual might make all the differences in terms of pay packaging and incentives. So this is why remuneration for similar positions might vary to a great extent in different firms. So based on the salary figures, investment banking should clearly be the better choice, but it appears that with a large firm, one might not be able to earn much higher in corporate finance position as well. Now let's see the fifth point, that is what are the career pros and cons, which is very important. Now let's see some of the pros of career in corporate finance. So the average median salary for the several corporate finance indicates that most of the openings in the domain fall in higher earning bracket within the finance industry. Perks are quite good and good prospects are abundant. So you can say salary and bonuses are good. You can say that. Now, when you talk about the second point, there is a greater variety of the career and the roles that are being offered as compared to investment banking, making it easier to choose a role in keeping with individual skills, sets, and capabilities. So the scope of roles is wider. So that is the point that we can inculcate over here. The third is higher number of openings are available in this field as compared to the investment banking. So you can say that despite of being competitive, higher openings, you can say that despite of being competitive, it would not be nearly as difficult to land an opening in corporate finance as in investment banking. The working hours are not among the best, but stands on much better as level compared to the investment banking. As far as the finance careers are concerned, work hours are not bad, but then again it might depend on the exact nature of role and the work pressure. So you can say the work hours are moderate, they are not that bad. Now the cons, let's talk about some of the cons. This were the pros and let's talk about some of the cons. Now, for some of the job roles, a master degree could be required, and generally people with relevant certification for support of their career role are preferred over most of the others. This makes the field slightly more competitive as compared to some other finance areas. However, corporate finance involves a key decision-making activity, and it would only be reasonable if employers prefer to hire those with a competitive advantage. Most of the career roles are not nearly as well paying as majority of the investment banking jobs. However, with a good firm, one could bag a higher pay package. Third, one of the obvious downside is in terms of the recognition. So the cons, the biggest is in terms of recognition, which is less as compared to investment banking, where investment banking are often lauded for their contribution to successfully brokering M&A deal or other major transaction. Corporate finance analysts are not considered on the same pedestal despite of the critical nature of their work. Now let's see some of the pros for investment banking. It is a kind of the front runner choice in terms of the finance career. So one of the reason being that it is one of the best compensated job which brings a good deal of industry recognition. The entry level perks are undoubtedly among the best in finance industry. Even an entry level investment banker working with a large firm can earn much better as compared to the most experienced professional in any other field of finance. So you can say the compensation are really high. Even the amateur is working is getting really high amount. The learning curve is steep for entry level analysts who get to work intensive work environment and interact with some of the best minds in the industry. The initial phase of 2 to 3 years can help them to acquire a solid foundation in investment banking and could be in for a long haul. So after putting a few years of hard work, they can go on to occupy the positions of VP, director, or managing director. So the job role is cut out of those driven by a desire to outperform competition and possess a combination of excellent negotiation capabilities, advanced knowledge of finance, ability to handle intensive work pressure. There is a high work pressure, you can say. They really need a grown-up person, and the working hours are close enough to in between, you can say 17 or 16 hours per day. That's like too much for a person, or you can say 90 to 100 hours per week. So after the 2008, let's see, we are talking about the cons, because the cons, whenever cons comes, about investment banking, it always have a great deal of 2008 global meltdown. So there has been a decline in investment banking jobs, but it continues to be one of the most promising careers in major corporations and continue to hire fresh talent. However, with another market slump, things could take a turn for a worse for investment bankers. I'm just citing over here the 2008 meltdown was our point over here. The next is due to the intense work pressure, a lot of entry-level analysts move on to the new roles within the first couple of years, which has also come to be known as the two-year itch. So if anything, it indicates how demanding the job role can be. Not everyone may be cut out for it. So it's really tough, and there's a cutthroat competition. The working hours are intense, to say. To at least with investment bankers working an average of 75 to 100 hours a week, even those who survive in the initial phase might need to pay extra attention to their health in later years. Given the kind of the work strain, do check the investment banking lifestyle. Now, the sixth thing that we are going to discuss over here is the work-life balance. Now let's see what goes in over here. Corporate finance appears to be the better choice in terms of the working hours as compared to the investment banking. In fact, investment banking enjoys a rather poor reputation for intense work hours, and there is but a little time left for family, friends, recreation, or relaxation. As one of the most competitive finance jobs, one would rather expect professionals at a high level to be incentivized with better work-life balance, but it might not be the case. Even in corporate finance, work hours are not among the best, but professionals usually have enough time and energy left to stretch their legs. However, as most of the roles, you can say, in corporate finance widely differ in terms of the responsibilities, work hours might also vary, but still on an average they enjoy a more balanced professional existence. Investment banking is usually meant for those who love to be recognized as work alcoholics. So let's make a final conclusion. While making a choice of a career, any individual should try to assess in objective manner if he or she possesses the desired skill set, and most importantly, if they would like the work role or not. The same holds true for both of the careers as well. Both are competitive areas in finance with good perks and excellent growth opportunity, but investment banking clearly has an advantage in terms of compensation and possibilities to grow as a professional. So those who value spending creative times away from the work might prefer corporate finance over investment banking, as the latter may not be such a good choice in terms of work hours. However, the decision should not be based only on a single factor, be it the compensation or work hours. So a balanced view of the work role should be carefully measured against the skill set, capabilities, goals of an individual before one decides anything. Thank you, everyone.